Ooh, I'm not ready for this. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. It's a fun place to be. So some of you may know this, some of you may not, but I've always been into writing. Like, I write stories. I've been doing it since like the dawn of time. I just like creating characters and making worlds for them. Well, backtrack, 8th grade, I wrote a fan fiction and I put it on Wattpad. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my One Direction fanfiction. The title is I'd Rather Not, and this is the picture I used for the cover. The description is,
Alison Griffin has never been a huge fan of One Direction. After her friend drags her to a concert and she runs into Louis Tomlinson, will things change? Find out. Watch it!
I shriek as a tall hooded figure walks straight into me, nearly making me spill the contents of my shopping basket. Sorry? How do you say sorry in British? I can't help but notice he has a distinct English accent.
Long way from home, don't you think?
I ask, turning back towards him. He just shrugs and goes back to looking at soup. Are you staying long? He shakes his head no. Do you talk? He turns to face me completely and talks at a normal level. Yes, I'm far from home. No, I'm not staying long. Yes, I talk. So basically she like leaves the store, calls her friend and like tells her what just happened, and her friend's like, oh my god, that's a guy from One Direction, obviously. Okay, then basically they make like t-shirts for the concert together and then they show up to the concert. Oh, so her friend's name is June, by the way. The concert hall is packed. We have 30 minutes until the concert is scheduled to begin and I can barely breathe. It's so claustrophobic down in the pit. And
June, I'm going to go get some fresh air. I'll be back here before it starts, don't worry.
So she just like opens a random door and walks outside. I find myself standing in a back alley to the concert hall. There's but one light and the rest is empty. I turn back around to the door and find it locked. Instead, I walk down the alley in search of another, possibly unlocked door. Right as I approach it, it swings open and I'm knocked to the ground by the heavy metal door. The sound of someone swearing in an English accent is the last thing I remember before I black out. Chapter 2. You're up, you're up, you're up, you're up, you are up. I hear a vaguely familiar voice with an English accent say. I turn my head and see a guy sitting on across from me. Do you know where you are? Sort of. I'm at the concert hall. Do you know who I am? You look like one of the guys in One Direction. Are you? You must have hit your head pretty hard, love. I'm going to go tell them you're awake. She looks around, grabs her phone, she has missed calls. She calls her friend back and explains what happens, and her friend's like, oh my god, you're with One Direction. Then a group of people walk into the room. Boring information that the medical people have to ask. Last question, do you know who these boys are behind me? One Direction, you'd have to live under a rock not to know that. And then they send the security guard to go find her friend. One of the boys with curly hair stands up and walks over to me. You said your name's Allison. I nod in agreement.
But I go by Allie.
Well, Allie, it's nice to meet you. I'm Harry, he says, extending a hand and smiling.
She knows your name, mate.
Louis says somewhat harshly. Now I do. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm not exactly a big fan. The doors open and Paul, the security guard, walks in followed by June. They're fine, they reunite. She sees the boys and she's like, oh my god. They stay backstage during the show and her friend June is like running back and forth to be like, I wanna watch from the audience, I wanna be backstage. Okay, so she passes out again. Then, I feel horrible. You shouldn't, I say softly, watching him carefully. But I do. Can I make it up to you? Can I have you for dinner tomorrow night? I'd rather not. Sorry. He's about to say something and then June runs back in and she goes,
Allie, are you doing anything tomorrow?
Why do you ask? June says, the boys invited us to go hang out with them at the hotel they're staying at tomorrow night. Chapter 3. So like they're going to the hotel. I think they meet the boys like by the elevator or something and they all go up. They walk down the hall and before they walk into the room, she like grabs Louis' arm and pulls him to the side because like everyone's smiling and stuff except for him. And she's like, what's wrong? And he says, nothing. And she says, don't lie to me. So they're watching a scary movie. Everyone's like living for it except Allison. And she looks over and she sees Louis and he's just like sitting there staring out the window. So she leans over to Harry and she's like, hey, I'm gonna go get some air, I'll be back in a little bit. And as she's walking out, she leans over to Louis and she's like, hey, I wanna talk to you. And she just walks straight outside, doesn't wait for a response. 6 minutes later, then he like gestures for her to follow him and they go to another door. And they go inside that room. Jeez Louise, this is so cheesy. You ready, guys? This is going to sound stupid, but I had this dream. It was about a year ago, but I remember it.
There was a girl in it that looked exactly like you. I think it was you, actually. You, dream you, rather. Told me things that made me scared.
I don't know what to say. And they're essentially now playing like 20 questions, but it's just like the questions game. Okay, so they're sitting on a bed now, just like opposite each other. And she's like, your turn. And he says, okay, let me think. Kiss me. Aww, so cute. Chapter 4. And then she pulls away. And then she says, I can't because I don't want to fall in love with you. And I don't want you to fall in love with me. Silence creeps into the room for the longest time. It's at least 2 minutes before he responds. Come with us then. And then she's just like, I'm outie, and she walks out the room. He comes out and apologizes, and she's like, what for? And then he's like, for this. He's like, I want you to come on tour with me, and she's like, it's not that easy. Then it's midnight and June and her are like, we're too tired, we don't want to go home. So they rent a hotel room, the floor below the guys. Okay, so she's still awake at like 1:30 in the morning and she texts him and she's like, hey, it's Allie, are you up? And he's like, I am, are you awake? And she says, do you want to come down? So then they start playing questions again, like a little bit, and then they make out. Chapter 5. So I put like a giant author's note at the beginning of the chapter. This will be my last chapter and it ends very abruptly. My apologies, I promise I will be writing more stories. Okay, so now it's like 3:20 in the morning and Louis is like, I gotta go, like I don't want the boys to wake up and see I'm gone. And she's like, no, I want you to stay here. And he's like, no, I need to go. And then he leaves eventually. Okay, and then in the morning when they're like leaving, she and June get in a fight and she's like, what's June so upset about? So she's like, maybe something happened. So she goes back to the elevator because June walks out. She goes back to the elevator, goes back upstairs to ask the boys what happened because she's like buddy with One Direction now. So she knocks on the door of the room they were like hanging out in the night before. No more than a minute after I knock, the door opens and I am greeted by a very sleepy looking Harry wearing only his boxers. I feel a sudden blush rush into my face, embarrassed. Morning, love. Author's note. That, my loves, is where it ends. If you would care for a basic synopsis of what happens for the rest of the story, in my head, you can keep reading. Basically, something happened between June and Niall, and she was just being a moody teenage girl. Between Louis and Allison, she goes on tour with them, June comes along, they fall in love. Oh, the thing Louis was afraid of, to sum it up, like commitment. Or, plot twist, Harry gets Allison pregnant and she doesn't tell Louis. And then he finds out and like freaks and leaves her to go hook up with June, who is now cheating on Niall, and then One Direction falls apart and Zayn and Liam end up being gay. Yeah, major plot twist there. Well, first of all, I predicted One Direction breaking up, which is pretty cool. Moral of the story, don't post your cringy fanfiction if you're not committed. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up or maybe just a pity thumbs up for me. Leave a comment down below and tell me if you've ever written a fanfiction and what it was about. If you want to see more of my videos, you should subscribe to my channel, and if you're feeling a little spicy, you can go ahead and click that notification bell. It's right down there next to the subscribe button, and then you will be notified every single time I post a new video. Isn't that pretty cool? Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye!